of the Occupational Safety and Health Study Program, Professor Dr. Yuliani Setianingsi, SKM MKes, our esteemed speaker, Assistant Professor Dr. Burak Kurt from Ankara University, Turkey, and Ibu Cita Fitria Putri, MKM, as our moderator for today's guest lecture. Good evening, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, and their participants. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to our guest lecture on biocidal and occupational health. I am Sawa Salsabila, and I'll be your master of ceremonies for this enlightening event. Let us begin this event with a prayer according to our respective faiths and beliefs. Prayer begin. Prayer ends. We are gathered here today to examine the vital connection between biocidal and occupational health, a subject that demands our attention as we strive to ensure safe and healthy work environments in the face of evolving biological risks. But before proceed into the next agenda, let's watch the safety induction video from students of Occupational Safety and Health Diponegoro University as a guide for the health and safety of all attendees. To the committee member in charge, please proceed.
Safety induction. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are the students of the Occupational Safety and Health Program at the Faculty of Public Health Diponegoro University, serving as the Occupational Safety, Health and Environment team. Before we start the activity, and in accordance with the procedures and standards of Occupational Safety and Health for online activities, please pay attention to the following procedures and compliance requirements. First, position yourself in a proper sitting posture. Do some stretching exercise to prevent musculoskeletal disorders. Adjust the visibility and brightness of your screen. Second, be aware of electrical hazards, such as overloading electrical outlets. Ensure your area is safe from other potential hazards. Third, ensure a stable internet connection, camera, and microphone during the online meeting. The risks and hazards that may occur include fatigue, fire, and earthquakes. In the event of an emergency, keep calm and do not panic. If the situation is safe, please proceed to the nearest open space around you by lowering your head and body to avoid smoke and debris. If you need assistance, please directly contact the public service center nearest to you or call emergency services at 112. Thank you for your attention. We wish you an enjoyable event. Remember to prioritize your health and safety. Together in safety, united in health, striving for zero accident.
Okay, thank you so much to the committee members. Next, let us listen to the Indonesian National Anthem, Diponegoro University Anthem, and the Faculty of Public Health Anthem. Attendees are kindly requested to turn on your cameras and sit properly. To the committee member in charge, please proceed. Okay, so next we will have a virtual group photo session. We kindly request to all attendees to turn on your cameras and position yourself. The committee member in charge, please proceed. So, for the first pose is formal pose. So, give your best smile. I have to count. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so for the second pose is zero accident pose like this. Okay, in my count, 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. And next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much for the committee and the participant. So, now we will move to the main event of today, the guest lecture on biocidal and occupational health. Please welcome our moderator, Ibu Chita Fitria Putri, Master of Public Health. Hello, Ibu Chita, how are you?
Hello, Salwa. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Are you ready to moderate today's discussion?
Oh, I'm more than ready.
Okay, I'm so glad to hear that and can't wait to hear your perspective and discussion about our topics today. So, Ibu Chita, the time and screen is all yours.
Okay, thank you, Salwa. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon to the distinguished speaker, respected lecturers, and all students of undergraduate program of Occupational Safety and Health. Welcome to today's guest lecture organized by the undergraduate program of Occupational Safety and Health, Faculty of Public Health, Universitas Diponegoro. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Chita. I am a lecturer at the Occupational Safety and Health, and it is my pleasure to serve as the moderator for this session. Well, today's lecture will focus on the topic biocidal and occupational health. This is a highly relevant subject considering the increasing attention given to the safe use of biocidal products and their impact on workers' health and the environment. And we are honored to have with us Dr. Burak Kurt, the Assistant Professor at Ankara University, Faculty of Medicine, Department of Public Health. Okay, before we jump to the main agenda, let me read briefly to introduce our distinguished speaker. Maybe the committee can show us the CV of Dr. Burak. So, Dr. Burak Kurt was born in Ankara in 1990. He is a medical doctor and public health specialist. He completed his medical degree at Gazi University in 2013, followed by specialist training in public health at Çukurova University. He later pursued advanced training in epidemiology, including the Turkey Field Epidemiology Training Program and a master's degree in epidemiology from Ankara University in 2025. Dr. Burak has extensive field experience, including epidemic investigations across Turkey and international public health assignment in Pakistan, Libya, and post-earthquake response in Kahramanmaras and Malatya. Since December 2024, he has been serving as an assistant professor at Ankara University, Faculty of Medicine, Department of Public Health. Dr. Burak has authored nearly 100 scientific publications in the field of public health, occupational and environmental health, and also biocidal studies. He also serves as secretary of the Scientific Committee on Rural Health of AICHO, a member of the Legionnaires' Disease Scientific Advisory Board of the Turkish Ministry of Health, and a board member of the Biocidal Occupational and Environmental Health Association of Turkey. Well, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Burak Kurt, who will deliver today's guest lecture on biocidal and occupational health. Hello, Dr. Burak.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Dear faculty members, dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Hello from
Waalaikumsalam.
Turkey. First of all, I would like to extend my respect and affection to all of you. You gave a nice introduction, so I will continue from that. Today, we will learn about pesticides, which are an important issue in occupational health, and discuss methods of protection. We will also talk about the field studies we have conducted in Turkey. With your permission, let's begin.
Okay. So there is no strict time for your lecture. Please feel free to take as much time as you need for your presentation.
Thank you. I think it will be like nearly 1 hour.
Okay.
And after that, we can do a question session with our students.
Okay,
if
good.
they have questions. Today we will talk about pesticides, usage areas, epidemiological, environmental, and occupational approach. So when you finish this lesson, you will have some idea about pesticide pollution in our world. Firstly, what are pesticides? There are some definitions, there are some chemicals in agriculture to control unwanted weeds, fungi, insects, and rodents. And the FAO defined these substances as any substance or mixture of substances or biological compound intended to repel, destroy, control any pest or regulate plant growth. The purpose why we use it, because to protect crops and prevent damage to animal products and agricultural foods during production, harvesting, storage, and transport. There are some benefits of these pesticides, like plant life management, because pesticides are used to affect the lifespan of plants, inhibit unwanted growth, and protect them from various diseases before and after harvesting. And when used properly, pesticides can significantly improve health and well-being by protecting our food supplies. But also, there are some risks and environmental impacts of these pesticides. Municipalities in all over the world, and maybe in Indonesia too, and public institutions use pesticides to control pests in cities. And greater attention should be paid to the types and effects of pesticides used in schools, playgrounds, and places of worship. We have some regulatory concerns about public health. The World Health Organization classified the pesticides, and the dioxin group of pesticides is listed among the top 10 chemicals of public health concern. And pesticides are also called as persistent organic pollutants. Under the Stockholm Convention, pesticides are classified as persistent organic pollutants, highlighting their long-lasting impact on health and the environment. Like you can see from this picture, pesticides are polluting our environment by several methods. What are the sources of pesticides? They can be derived from plants or synthetically produced. Pesticides in pure form are less effective and phytotoxic to plants and more harmful to the environment. So they are typically mixed with active ingredients to form a formulation, which is a ready-to-use preparation and sold commercially. This process aims to make pesticides safer and less harmful to humans and the environment. So what are the components of the pesticide? First, the active substance. This is the main lethal component that targets pests. And there is fillers that are non-reactive compounds that carries the active substances and determines the formulation type. They can be in liquid and solid form. And there are other substances in pesticides, to enhance the effectiveness and durability of the pesticide, improve application ease, reduce negative effects on plants, and stimulate user activity. What are the ideal characteristics of pesticides? First, specificity. They should target only the harmful organisms and be harmless to humans. Second, they must be affordable and simple to use. And third is safety. They should be easily converted into non-toxic substances, and they should not be flammable, corrosive, or explosive. So these are the characteristics of an ideal pesticide. They should be inexpensive and easily available, effective only against the specific target organism. They should be non-persistent, non-toxic to other living organisms, and they should be biodegradable. So, the history goes to long times in humanity about the pesticides. It dates back to ancient times with the evidence of agricultural practices in Mesopotamia like 10,000 years ago and rice cultivation in Africa many years ago. In Sumerians and Chinese around 2,500 years ago, the Sumerians used sulfur powder to protect crops from pests, and the Chinese used mercury and arsenic against body lice. Now from 1600s, first pesticide applications in agriculture began using inorganic substances like lead, arsenate, sulfuric acid, and copper sulfate, and plant-derived pesticides. But after the World War II era, the discovery and widespread use of DDT to combat insect-borne diseases like malaria and typhus, DDT was popular due to its high effectiveness and was used both in agriculture and homes. So you can see an advertisement here. It has all the wrong information about the pesticides. You can see children applying a DDT pesticide without a protection. Back to these years, the health effects of these DDTs and these pesticides were not known, but we know the harmful effects now. So from 1970s, a period of innovation with the discovery and many new pesticide types like herbicides, fungicides, and insecticides were introduced, expanding to the global market. And 1990s to present, the continued growth in pesticide diversity with new formulas that are economically cheaper, broad spectrum, easy to use, and environmentally compatible, we use them now. According to Food and Agriculture Organization, pesticide use is increasing. And by year 2050, the global population is expected to reach 10 billion, necessitating a 70% increase in food production. So pesticides are essential in various sectors, including agriculture, animal husbandry, forestry, construction, and social hygiene. And the growing demand of pesticides due to increased usage in agriculture and other sectors is likely to boost pesticide rates in the coming years. So, about the public health approach. We should implement an integrated approach when applying pesticides. It combines mechanical, chemical, and biological methods. Mechanical method examples are, for example, eliminating pest breeding areas in living spaces, implementing mosquito nets, window screens, and closed marshy water sources, and removing open garbage dumps. Some chemical methods are using organochlorine, organophosphorus insecticides, carbamides, and pyrethroids. But they can be poisonous and harmful. And there is some biological products like Bacillus specialis, some spores, and insect growth regulators, including chitin synthase inhibitors and juvenile hormone analogs. These are used as the biological products to control pests too. And you may heard of this type of controls, releasing fish that consume mosquito larvae into urban water bodies, encouraging the presence of natural predators like owls and martens in the cities. The pesticides are highly regulated in Europe, in United States, and in Turkey. I think in Indonesia, you have some laws too about the regulatory standards of pesticides. But in Turkey, we mainly follow the ECHA, the European Chemical Agency's regulations. Also, we have some our own regulations too. These are based on World Health Organization and European Union directives. According to that, there are 22 categories within 5 main groups with case numbers for identification. Comprehensive toxicity tests conducted on all approved biocidal products with detailed data sheets are available. And where can we find it? If we are using a pesticide, we can go to the ECHA Biocidal's active substance database and search about this pesticide. For example, with substance name, with asset numbers, with approval status. We can see if this product is approved or not from this database. And when you search down this database, you can see if it's approved or the approval status is in progress. You know which countries are these evaluated and when does the approval start and end. In pesticides, the approval may be in limited time because more harmful effects, more chronic effects can occur time to time, and the regulatory bodies detect them and change their regulations according to them. Pesticides can be classified based on the target organism and their chemical properties. First group is insecticides. Subgroups are organophosphates and carbamides. They are highly poisonous. And organochlorines. They are banned from most of the countries. And there are some pesticides of biological origin, like pyrethroids and pyrethroids, and nicotine. And there are other insecticides. The most used pesticide type is herbicides. We use on our farmlands, like chlorophenoxy herbicides, pentachlorophenol, nitrophenolic and nitrochlorosic herbicides, paraquat and diquat, and others. They are mainly used by farmers. And some other substance pesticides, fungicides, fumigants, rodenticides, various pesticides, solvents, and adjuvants, and disinfectants, like we use in our own homes. The World Health Organization recommended classification of pesticide by hazards. The extremely hazardous class is class 1A. This is the LD50 for rats. It says us that if a rat takes this dose, in 50% the rat dies. So for extremely hazardous substances, it is orally below 5 and with dermal below 50. For 1B, highly hazardous, it is below 50 orally and below 2000 dermally. And for class 2, moderately hazardous, below 2000 and dermal also below 2000. Also, there is class U, unlikely to present acute hazard. This is 5000 milligram over kilogram by body weight. So we can understand from the table, we should be extremely concerned about the class 1A and 1B type of pesticides. Let's talk about some epidemiological properties of these pesticides and factors influencing the use. Pesticide use varies based on pest prevalence, climatic conditions, country development, and common crops. Reducing pesticide consumption is crucial for protecting the environment and human health. And integrated pesticide management combines pest management, agricultural production, and environmental production to minimize risk and costs. Pesticide use is globally increasing. Agricultural pesticide use has reached approximately 2.5 million tons worldwide. There is an historical growth, and the population increases. Pesticide production rose from 0.2 million tons in 1950s to around 5 million tons in year 2000s. If we look at the pesticide sales in Europe, the highest sales are Spain and France in Europe. The lowest sales are Malta and Luxembourg. And what are the pesticide types? The main types are fungicides and bactericides, 43%. Next to that, there's herbicides and algicides, 33%. And then other plant protectants, insecticides, acaricides, plant growth regulators, and molluscides. So in Europe, the most used form is fungicides and bactericides, like you see here. But if you look at the global share and the developing countries, like Turkey and Indonesia, herbicides have the highest global use share at like nearly 50%, followed by insecticides and fungicides. In OECD and Africa country, they predominantly use herbicides and fungicides. And in Latin America and Asia, there is a mix of herbicides, insecticides, and fungicides. The top countries are China, the USA, and Argentina are the top 3 pesticide users globally. So, about the environmental impact of pesticides. Modern agriculture is increasing agricultural lands and population to make pesticides essential in modern farming. We can't get rid of that 100%. But they have negative effects. Extensive pesticide use adversely affects the environment and all the living organisms. They are found in atmosphere, soil, and water, impacting the entire ecosystem and the human health. And persistent. Pesticides can remain in the environment for varying durations due to absorption, evaporation, and transfer processes. And only a small fraction of applied pesticides actually protect against pests. The majority spreads through environmental cycles. Pesticides can damage the soil's living structure, reducing its fertility and harming soil organisms. They are absorbed by soil particles and can spread more easily, contributing to environmental pollution. Pesticides break down through chemical and biological processes, mixing them into the atmosphere and water, leading to ecosystem contamination. Study findings like research by Banderi and alumni found that pesticide residues in nearly 60% of soil samples, particularly in upper layers, are found. Soil, acting as a pesticide reservoir, directly contributes to increased environmental and water pollution. You know, the water is essential for human health and maintaining a healthy life. The pesticides with toxicological effects pollute both surface and groundwater through various means. Sources of contamination are rivers, lakes, underground water sources by agricultural pesticides. And they can reach water through chemical changes, diffusion, hydrological processes, and spraying. And there are improper practices. This is about the occupational health part. Agricultural workers leaving materials in the environment, improper preparation and cleaning of spraying equipment, and wastewater from pesticide factories contribute to this contamination. Increasing pesticide use in agriculture threatens water quality, aquatic life, and natural ecosystems along water bodies. And herbicides are particularly toxic, disrupting the photosynthesis in aquatic organisms and disturbing the ecosystem balance, like you see from this picture. Herbicides can contaminate drinking water sources, leading to acute health problems in both humans and animals. And pesticides disrupt the natural balance, affecting the entire food chain, within aquatic ecosystems. Also, there is air pollution. The pesticides contribute to the air pollution as they disperse into the atmosphere. And pesticides are found in air particles due to evaporation, spray drift, wind effects, high temperatures, and low precipitation. There are some routes of atmospheric contamination, direct and indirect reaches. Pesticides can enter the atmosphere directly or be carried by wind over the large areas. And pesticides evaporate from soil with environmental conditions affecting the evaporation rate, crucial for pesticide distribution into the atmosphere. Humidity and temperature of air and soil influence pesticide movement in the atmosphere. Pesticides applied in agriculture can affect more organisms as they evaporate, including populations near agricultural areas. And consequences of these airborne pesticides are widespread pollution. Pesticides in airborne particles or vapor can contaminate soil, lakes, rivers, and streams through rainfall. And the spread of these pesticides through the atmosphere contributes to broader environmental pollution. So, I will talk about our fieldworks. Our fieldworks in Turkey are mainly based on the southern parts of the Turkey. Firstly, the current situation in dealers selling pesticide products. This study is conducted by face-to-face interviews with 50 pesticide sellers in Adana, and 34% of sellers do not follow legal developments. 53% do not participate in training programs. 56% do not use protective materials. 6% are exposed to negative health effects of pesticides. 10% do not read the ingredients of the drugs they sell. 18% do not inform consumers. And 88% states that there is no conscious use and there are too many unlicensed products on the market. In a similar study we made near the Adana region, the Osmaniye, the Ceyhan, and the Tarsus region, with the dealers selling pesticide products, showed that 70% of sellers do not follow legal developments, 33% do not participate in training programs. 68% do not use protective equipment. This is very important. 9% are exposed to negative health effects of pesticides, 3% do not inform consumers, and 43% do not know the National Poison Information Center number. So in Turkey, we have a central poison information center. If you have any signs of the pesticide poisoning, you can call this number, and the emergency people takes necessary medications to you or brings you to the hospital to treat. And in another study we made in 2016, we went to the households in Karataş district of Adana province. I personally did this investigation myself. Of the households included in study, nearly 90% had pesticides at home. Of these households, 96% had insecticides, 14% had rodenticides, and 9% had herbicides. And be careful about that. 51% stored pesticides in the kitchen, 19% stored in the bathroom, and 15% stored in the bedroom. 78% use pesticides in kitchen, 56% in bedroom, and 55% in toilet, and 51% in the bedroom. How dangerous is that? And 15% of households stored pesticides in places accessible to the children. And 64% did not use any personal protection when applying pesticides. And another study we conducted in Malatya province with the help of the Chamber of Agriculture. This study was made on 130 13 people registered and within the Chamber of Agriculture and trained within the scope of good agricultural practice. 74% of the practitioners do not use pesticides consciously. 57% see themselves at risk of drug poisoning. 61% do not get examined at regular intervals. 94% do not know the National Poison Information Center number. This is very high number. And 69% think that there is no antidote for pesticides. But this is a wrong information. There is some antidote to pesticides. As a result, we saw that knowledge and education level of pesticide practitioners were inadequate, and periodic health examinations are low. 2 years later that, we make an investigation about the pesticide residue and acetylcholinesterase enzyme activity in agriculture workers in Adana province. We took 66 controls and 66 agricultural workers. 95% of agricultural workers do not receive spraying training. 74% do not use any personal protective equipment. And a total of 31 pesticide active substances were detected, at least one in hair samples of all of the agricultural workers. So this signs us to the chronic poisoning of the pesticides. A total of 15 different pesticide active substances were detected in 94% of the blood samples. You can see in this picture our investigator, Dr. Salia, one of my colleagues, is collecting hair samples from the agricultural workers in the field. And she analyzed this in the university laboratories. And in a similar work, in the same province, 35 agricultural workers who applied pesticides and 40 volunteers who were not exposed to pesticides were taken as reference. This is important. Chromosomal abnormalities were significantly higher in agricultural workers than the reference group. When examined in an age-adjusted manner, the risk of chromosomal disorders were found to be 2.3 times higher in pesticide applicators than in the reference group. And this is a similar product. This is a similar study in Mersin. We see similar results in similar districts of Turkey. And in another study, we showed that the seasonal migrant agriculture workers in Turkey have inadequate working conditions, wages, accommodation, nutrition opportunities, health conditions, and occupational health and safety conditions. This inadequacy negatively affects the quality of life of the workers, their use of health services, and occupational health and safety. You can read the full text of this paper in the Journal of Agromedicine. And in a study conducted in 420 seasonal agricultural workers in the Karataş district, it was determined that all workers use pesticides, but none of them, unfortunately, received training. Only 26% workers kept pesticides in a closed warehouse. Only 4% used pesticide cans to special collection areas. 84% workers know that pesticide had negative effects, and 5% had health problems related to pesticides, and 1% had poisoning after pesticide application. This may seem low to you, but pesticide poisonings are lethal. They are deadly. So even 1% is a very high number in pesticide poisoning. And another study we practiced in Adana with the patch method. 11 types of pesticides were detected in practitioners. Of those, they were exposed to high levels of pyrifos, which is a highly deadly pesticide, and there's also moderate risk for abamectin, bupropion, and similar pesticides. Personal protective equipment level was accepted as none as almost all of the practitioners. We applied some patches to the pesticide appliers, and we sent to laboratories and measured the pesticide exposure with the study. So these are some example works of our country. In all developed regions, we see similar type of patterns. What should we do about that? In regard of the occupational, healthy and safe context. The most important thing is proper use of pesticides and precautions. Like you saw, we have an increasing demand of pesticides. We can't stop using that in our cities, in our farms, but we can implement some precautions, some proper use to reduce their mortality and morbidity. The first step, the ethics. First of all, the user needs to know that they are harming the environment and nature. And whatever they do, they should do with this feeling. Pesticides should be used to control pests only, and when needed, and the least environmentally damaging way. Alternative methods should be considered first if available, like biological control methods. Second, reading labels carefully and following the application instructions. Pesticide labels provide detailed information on ingredients and instructions for use. This information is vital for health and safety. Like in the slogan, read the label first, then apply. The warnings, the recommended dosage, application intervals, and personal protection measures indicated on the label should be carefully examined by the user. Third step, dosage control and application area selection. Applying the correct dose according to the instructions on the label is critical both to achieve effective results and protect chemical overuse. To avoid overuse of pesticides, the recommended amount should not be exceeded. Application areas should be carefully selected and special precautions should be taken, especially in areas where children, the elderly, and the animals are present. And one of the most important things, the use of personal protective equipment. First, the first point is to choose the right personal protective equipment. This is followed by its correct use. Hand protection, gloves. The first point of contact in pesticide applications is like you see in this picture, skin and hands. Gloves to be used for this protection must comply with the instructions for use of pesticides and the standards specified on their labels. Gloves should be selected in accordance with the chemical content of pesticides. Gloves to be used for protective purposes must protect the hand and all parts of the hand against the hazards of the chemical and other factors. Gloves with appropriate ISO standards should be preferred. Secondly, we use respiratory protective equipment. Many acute and chronic respiratory diseases occur in agricultural workers as a result of exposure to pesticides through the respiratory tract. Studies have shown that respiratory symptoms such as cold, runny nose, cough, and shortness of breath are more common during the agricultural season. For this reason, face masks are used as protective equipment to reduce and prevent occupational exposure that may occur to the respiratory tract. The protective face masks to be used should be personalized, easy to use, and suitable for the type of pesticides, dust, gas, and liquid forms. Masks with filters that can fully grab the mouth, nose, or mouth-eye nose should be used, like this type of equipment. and eye equipment. One of the protective equipment is goggles, like you see in this picture. When choosing glasses, they should be selected in accordance with the type of chemical used. Someone else's glasses should not be used, and the glasses should be personalized. After the spraying process is over, the goggles should be checked for cracks, and the goggles used for protective purposes should be cleaned with soap and water and stored in a suitable way. And foot protective equipment. Shoes, boots that comply with ISO standards should be used against pesticides. Pesticides, especially liquid form, can cause various occupational accidents in agricultural workers or farmers who apply the process during mixing, transporting, loading, and spraying. These chemicals in liquid form cause burns, skin irritation, and even tissue damage during spillage or splashing. For this reason, foot protectors should be worn for protective purposes. The equipment to be used must be checked before wearing. Foot protectors must be cleaned and ventilated after the procedure. And protective clothing, masks, gloves, goggles, full body covering, protective clothing, and shoes. They are used to protect body integrity against hazardous chemicals. Coveralls made of foam, natural fibers, or synthetic fabrics should be used against chemical hazards. Disposable coveralls should be preferred. Protective covering should not interfere with blood circulation and should not harm people's health. Before the application, clothes that are comfortable, do not restrict movement, and are compatible with the chemical should be preferred. And what should we do about the application methods? Firstly, using the right equipment. Pesticides should be applied with the right spraying equipment. Application tools should be checked and maintained before each use. Second, paying attention to wind and weather conditions. Pesticide applications should not be made in windy weather. Spraying should be in the opposite direction of the wind. And third, safe distance during application. Sufficient distance should be maintained from other people, animals, and water sources when applying these pesticides. And another very important topic is storage and disposal. Pesticides should be stored in their original containers in a locked, well-ventilated warehouse. Storage areas should be inaccessible to children and unauthorized persons. Keeping in original packaging and labeled is extremely important. And second important thing, disposal of surplus pesticides. These surplus pesticides and empty containers should be disposed in accordance with local regulations and never be discharged into the water bodies. And another topic is personal hygiene. Cleaning after exposure. After pesticide application, hands, face, and other exposed skin areas should be washed thoroughly with plenty of soapy water. And cleaning of clothing. Clothing worn during pesticide application should be washed separately from other laundry. It is recommended to take a shower after application. And also, we have chemicals used in the hospitals. What are these? The disinfectants, the medical gases, sterilization chemicals, cleaning chemicals, and disinfectants like alcohol-based, chlorine-based, and nitrous oxide, halogenated anesthetic gases, ethylene oxide, hydrogen peroxide vapor, peracetic acid, ammonia, and bleaches. We use many types of chemicals in the hospitals. What is the most common health problem associated with long-term disinfectant exposure in hospital clinics? Precautions should be taken in hospitals and health institutions. There should be appropriate ventilation systems in areas where chemicals are used, and if necessary, appropriate personal protective equipment should be used. Eating or drinking should be prohibited in environments where chemicals are used. In addition, chemicals should be labeled and stored appropriately. Food should never be stored in areas where chemicals are used. Empty chemical containers should be disposed of safely, and hazardous waste should be collected in special containers. Regular health checks and training should be carried out for healthcare personnel working with chemicals. And the exposure times of personnel working in risky areas should be limited. And also, not just in the hospitals, we use many chemicals, many pesticides in our homes, like cleaning agents, for example, bleach, ammonia, powders, dishwashing detergents, and glass cleaners, and insecticides, like for spraying insects, flea, some medicines, some mosquito repellents, and paint thinners, solvent-based paints, water-based paints, thinners, polishes, and detergents and softeners. For example, laundry detergents, liquid or powder dishwashing detergents, fabric soft. And we use our homes, air fresheners and fragrances, aerosol air fresheners, electric scent diffusers, and candles. So, as a conclusion, what should be done about the occupational practices? Training of personnel in hospitals should be done regularly. And just not the hospitals, of the whole public, I think, especially the workers. And training on the use of new chemicals should not be neglected. And practical training should also be provided, for, especially to the practitioners. Awareness campaigns should be organized for the society. Chemical safety training and information activities should be organized for risk groups through community health centers, local development governments, and NGOs. Unpoison consultancy centers, like we have in Turkey, should be reached 7 days, 24 hours, and should be established and should be reached by the citizens and health professionals. Accidents related to chemical safety endanger not of the health of these individuals, but also the health of the people around them, their family members, and society. Therefore, it's very important for health workers like we and occupational practitioners like you to play a leading role in the dissemination of the chemical safety culture. Thank you for listening to me. You can reach me anytime with emailing me, and if you want to see my studies, get more detailed about our works, you can visit this website and look out our academic records. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Burak, for the insightful and comprehensive presentation. I believe we have all gained valuable knowledge and perspectives on the role of biocidal products in the occupational health and their implications for public health practice. Well, we will now proceed to the question and answer session. For the participants who would like to ask questions, please raise your hand, or you can also type your questions in the chat box. I will read the selected questions or from the chat box, or maybe I will read in order start from the top questions. Okay, please. Is there any questions?
If we have no questions, it means two things. Everything is well understood or nothing is understood.
Maybe some students got some difficulties in expressing the question in English. Okay.
Okay, no problem. English is also not my primary language.
Me too. Okay, there is Evandra Ramadan who raised his hand. Would you like to present it directly? Okay. Hello, Evandra.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay, please, you can tell us
So I
anything you
can
want
see,
to know. Okay.
yeah. My question is, there's an innovative way to control pests without using pesticides, right? By controlling its predators, such as releasing snakes to counter rats. Compared to using pesticides, which method is the best solution if we want to ensure the workers' safety? Thank you, sir.
Yes, thank you for this question. One thing is certain, we can't get rid of chemicals, but we should reduce the levels we use, especially in the public areas. You gave an example like releasing snakes, but this is also may the risks for the public. You should risk weights and its contributions when applying a pesticide. Should use chemical or biological alternatives. In Turkey, I see that more and more municipalities are using a biological approach with the, for example, controlling the mosquitoes, controlling the bugs in the city. Because if you spray a children's park, all of the children inhales the pesticides and get sick in short term or the long term. In short term, they can get poisoned and it can be deadly. But there are also some long-term results of these poisonings. For example, cancers. For example, neurological disorders. For example, autism in babies. So this is an extremely important topic. And when applying pesticides, we should also look for the biological alternatives and compare to the chemical products. But also there's an important thing too. The pesticides are not cheap. They are expensive products. So even it is forbidden to use, for example, DDT is banned in all over the world, but we found DDT traces in waters. It shows that some farmers are using DDT. They are buying from it from the black market in unregulated ways to use. So if a farmer is poisoned by the pesticide, if an applicator is poisoned by the pesticide, you should always tell the farmer or the practitioner, show me the pesticide label. What were you using? For example, organophosphate. There is an antidote about that. If you apply this to the patient gets well. But if you don't apply this antidote, the patient dies in like 3 days or maximum of 10 days. So being fast is incredibly important. The education level of the farmers, especially, and practitioners should be heightened. This is, I think, the most important lesson for like you students, the occupational workers, bringing the education level higher for the public and the practitioners. Thank you.
Okay. Is it clear enough, Evandra? Any feedback?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Now let's move to the next question. We have one question in the chat box from Asni Zahran. What are the main ways pesticides can get into a worker's body? Inhalation, skin contact, etc. And which one happens most often in the workplace?
Thank you for this question. Nice question. We see the most common the skin problems in hospitals too, the dermatitis, because we use hand disinfectants all over the time, like more than 10 times a day increases the dermatitis risk for the workers. And secondly, the inhalation. The inhalation is also lethal. It's mortal. So it's a more important thing than dermal contacts. So if and third way is the digestive contact, because it's unconscious contact. Like you store the pesticides in a way the children can consume, and the child consumes it unintentionally and gets sick because of that, or maybe dies. And there are also some suicide attempts of these pesticides. When we see a patient, a farmer with a poisoning, with a suicide attempt, we should always think about the pesticide exposure too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, doctor. I hope it answer the questions from Asni. If there is any feedback, you can write your next questions. Feel free to write it in the chat box if you shy to turn on your camera, maybe. Okay, there is the third question from Kenya and Jasmine. They ask, what can we do as a safety officer to minimize the risk of water pollution from pesticides in the pesticide factory?
Yes, thank you. Good question. You should look at your country's regulations, the country's laws about the pollution levels and the determination of the pesticides. In these areas, the government, from like I know in Turkey, takes samples periodically from these areas and see if there's any pollution about the water. So in occupational health, we should also always control the source of the contamination. But if we can't control the contamination, then as an end user, before drinking the water, we should check the municipal water if it's clean. And also make sure that all of the citizens are using the municipal water, the clean water, not the river water or not the well water, because it can be contaminated, especially in the farm areas. So also in Turkey, we see a lot of poisoning from drinking waters, maybe in schools near the farm areas. It's getting decreasing in numbers, but we still see this kind of occupational exposures. But as an occupational officer, you should never forget that the poisoning can be resulted from the pesticide poisoning, because as a doctor, we can forget about this. We can forget about the farmers' contacts, and we always think of some drug poisonings, etc., some other illnesses. But we should also think about the pesticide contacts of these workers. The factories should be filtered, should be using filtered, and should decontaminate these pesticides in a useful way according to your country's regulations. So you should follow the regulations when examining them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, doctor. Well, now we move to the next questions from Ferry Satria. Ferry asks about how can such a substance, pesticide, ethylene oxide, can be approved by some country while the other reject it. If I can see some recent case that Indomie Soto Banjar got rejected in Taiwan because of pesticide content. Did it rejected because of the different regulation or maybe it because the company fault? And what kind of pesticide is it and how it can be harmful for a human? Interesting.
Okay, thank you. I didn't heard about this Indomo Sato Banjar. I should look at it. But as generally, yes, as generally, I can say that the pesticide companies are very powerful. They are high earning businesses. They have more money They can influence the governments, also with the regulations. So we should always look at the firstly World Health Organization directories. Like I told in the slide, is it hazardous or not? Second, the ECADET database. The European Union database is a reliable one about approving the substances. The Turkey is also using ECA database. Also, like I told, the companies are trying to release more products to earn more money, but the government should not permit that. It should also do some tests for the exposure. So this is why the countries differ from time to time. And also there are some black market products. There are some cheap products, especially coming from the China. We made some investigations in Turkey countries like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. We saw that the most pesticides they buy from the black market from China cheaply. The label cannot be read because it was in Chinese, not in their language. So if a farmer gets poisoned, the doctor takes the label and cannot read it because it's Chinese. You understand? It's illegal. So the government should detect and ban of these black market pesticides too. So there are lots of things that should be done by the governments and the municipalities about the pesticides because it's a very important topic. Thank you for the question.
Okay. Is there any questions? No one? Okay, doctor. Let me ask you a question. It's from my actually it's from my personal. So now I'm conducting a research in farmers regarding pesticide use. And what I want to know, based on your expertise, what are the key considerations in assessing the potential biocidal effects on occupational health, particularly for farmers who are regularly exposed to pesticides? In my study, I'm measuring blood cholinesterase levels as the biomarkers of exposure. Do you think this is an effective approach? And what additional preventive measures would you recommend to minimize the health risks in this population?
Yes, thank you very much. The acetylcholinesterase level is very important because of the organophosphate pesticide poisoning. Uh, there are not so many indicators about the farmer exposure, unfortunately. But like we did in the Adana study, you can reach from my CV. We took some hair samples from the farmers because you know it shows the chronic effects of the pesticides, not the acute. Acetylcholinesterase show more acute results, and the hair samples show more chronic results. So we can see some chromosomal anomalies. And also, I can say that the pregnant women are also in greater risk. So they should also be given particular interest, maybe. Not applying the pesticide, but staying in home and having a farmer husband or a practitioner husband. But she also gets affected by this pesticide because the husband brings the pesticide poisoning, the exposure to the home. And about the farmer health, we see all types of health conditions, the acute conditions and the chronic conditions. But the most important thing about that, the farmers don't go hospitals or the primary health centers. They think that, oh, I eat something last evening and I got poisoned. They do not find the pesticide guilty because they do not have any education. So I think you can do an education pilot program in some area and see the knowledge level after that. And you can expand this to the whole region, maybe working with the municipality, the government bodies. So it becomes a campaign for your country or your region. It will be the most, I think, the effective way to reduce the pesticide exposure level of the farmers. Because as a conclusion, I said that the farmers are really uneducated. The pesticide sellers are also uneducated. So even us, the health practitioners, the doctors are also uneducated. So everyone should be increased in level. So why this lesson is important for you? You are the leader people. Your students are the leaders. We will be the leaders in their regions about occupational health. So whenever region you go, if you see a farmer, please give this education to them. You will be most helpful for the community and for the world.
Thank you. Actually, in my region, the farmers who got poisoned by the pesticides, they straightforwardly drink the coconut water, and
Yes.
they believe that this coconut water can dissolve the poison in their body. I don't know, is it effective or not? I don't know.
I saw some similar things in Turkic countries, the South Asia countries. They are eating yogurt or
Ah,
they are drinking kefir,
yeah,
uh, but it is ancient medication. It's not effective. Or drinking coconut water.
yeah.
It is the same as every culture, but it does not solve the problem. They should go to the doctor. They should treat the poisoning. They should get the antidote. They should get the serum therapy, and then they got better. So your job is that your students' job is that also to eliminate this false knowledge and bring in some medical, some scientific knowledge and give to the farmers. It is the most important thing. Also, we see in our field studies.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, is there any questions for our dear student? Looks like there is no questions.
Oh,
Okay,
there is one, I think.
okay. Rizky Ramadan and Ibnu Said. Oh, wow. Okay, first, Rizky, you can tell us your questions,
Hello.
please. Hello.
Permission. Excuse me, Mister. My name is Rizky Ramadan, and I want to ask. So, how should a comprehensive occupational safety and health management system be designed to address the rise of pesticide cross contamination, not only during application, but also during storage, equipment, equipment cleaning, and in worker housing or accommodation areas?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Rizky Ramazan. Wonderful question. We have a system in Turkey. Maybe you have a similar system. I don't know. I will talk about it. Whenever you are buying a pesticide from a pesticide seller, there is some QR code. So, and we have not environmental, but farm engineers, I can say. We have farm engineers. Like a doctor prescription, the farm engineer prescribes a pesticides to the farmer. You go to the farmer engineer and you tell that I have some apple farm and this is 10 decars and I'm spraying like that. So the farm engineers prescribes some pesticide for you. You take this and this dose. The farmer goes to the like pharmacy, but the pesticide seller in reality, and shows the QR code and takes it from the pesticide seller. So it's surveillanced by the government. The Ministry of farm agriculture can see the which farmer is using which pesticide, and also with some field investigations, the farm ministry of farm or the local agencies some time to time goes to the farmer places and takes some samples also from the fruits or the vegetables. If it's complying the regulations or not. So I can say that you should, or the country or the regulator should make a surveillance system of using the pesticides, especially for the farm workers, not for the home maybe, because we always use bleach. The government can track that. It's impossible and not necessary. What the most important is farm workers and the governments should watch the use, the patterns of the use, and see if there are some illegal use, illegal black market products like DDT in the area, and give and take necessary precautions not to be used in the government. I think the farm surveillance system should be established in the farmer countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, maybe one last questions for Ibnu. I think I saw him raising his hand. Okay, Ibnu.
Hello.
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 Okay.
Hello.
Thank you, Dika and Mr. Burak. So first of all, my apologize if my question is not related to occupational health and safety. Is how pesticides affects pollinators such as bees and butterflies. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for this question. It's about the pesticides. It's about the topic. Also, it's an important point of the pollinators because it is our main ingredients of the food, the bees and the pollinators. The pesticides I told in this lecture should always be targeted at the target organism, not the other organisms. And bees and the pollinators are the untargeted organisms. They are affected. If I spray my apple form, I also unconsciously spray the bee or the pollinator population. So the population gets slower. They also get sick. These animals have very short life and they also get sick. And the bees die in populations. So this is an also environmental concern. The bees and the pollinators should also be watched by the regulatory bodies not to be affected by the pesticide spraying. Thank you for your question.
Okay. I think that's the last questions for today's session. Thank you to all participants for your thoughtful questions. And once again, our sincere appreciation to Dr. Budak for the clear and engaging answers. Well, for today's lecture, it has reminded us that while biocides are essential in protecting human health, ensuring hygiene, and maintaining product safety, they also carry potential risks for workers who manufacture or apply them. This emphasizes the importance of safe use, exposure control, and strict adherence to occupational safety standards. Ultimately, the balance between the benefits of biocides and the prevention of occupational health risks can only be achieved through proper regulation, risk assessment, and preventive measures. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of today's guest lecture, let us once again express our gratitude to Dr. Burak Kurt for sharing his expertise with us. We also thanks all participants for your active engagement. And
I also
okay,
I also thank you, Sita and Professor Deni, and all of your students for having me this lovely morning. It's great to be with you. I hope it's useful for you in your life, not because passing the exams. Life is more important, I think. Yes,
okay.
nice sceneries. I send all my regards to the Diponegro University staff and students.
Thank you.
Thank
Maybe
you.
Prof. Hanifa want to deliver a few greetings for Dr. Burak.
Okay, just thank you very much for your great presentation. And we still have some homework to do for both of us. We still have to have a plan for the webinar and then also what is it? The form and then the website. So that's we
Yes,
have work together also.
yes.
Thank you. It was great. Really, I really appreciate you have very comprehensive presentation on pesticides and as one aspect of biocidal and in occupational health. So thank you very much. Hope to see you soon.
Yes. Thank you very much too for having me.
Okay, we are very honored to have Dr. Burak with us today, and as a token of appreciation, we would like to present the certificate to acknowledge your valuable contribution to our guest lecture. Okay. Nggak muncul? Okay.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much, Dr. Burak.
I'm honored.
Well, with that, we obviously conclude today's session, and now I want to hand the session back to our Master of Ceremony. See you again, Dr. Burak. Thank you so much.
See you. Have a good day.
Okay.
Sorry, maybe we will send the photo to you. Is it okay to send by email?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much to Dr. Burakurt for your insightful presentation on biocidal and occupational health, and also Ibu Chita for leading our discussion today. Also, next we have the virtual presentation of certificates to the speaker, Assistant Professor Dr. Burakurt, by our moderator, Ibu Chita Fitria Putri MKM. So, to the committee member in charge, please proceed.
Okay, I think we already present the certificate. Maybe we can move to the next session.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, time flies so fast, and we learned so many new things from today's guest lecture. I'd like to thank again to our speaker and moderator for the insightful discussion, and of course, thank you to all participants for your question and enthusiasm. But before all participants leave, please take a moment to fill out attendance links via QR code displayed on the screen or link in tinurl.com/presency guest lecture 2025. Okay, we finally reached the end of our event. Once again, we express our gratitude to Ibu Cita Fitria Putri MKM as the moderator and Assistant Professor Dr. Burakurt as the speaker for their willingness to participate in this guest lecture. We also thank all participants who have attended. On behalf of the committee, I apologize for any shortcomings or mistakes, intentional or unintentional, during the event. I am Salsabila as the Master of Ceremonies bid you a farewell. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye. Thank you, Guru.
Bye-bye. Good afternoon, everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Allow me to leave from the Zoom, okay?
Yes, Prof.
Kakak jadi jatuh kakak tak bola balik lihat ade nonai semakin menyalai kakak hati susah ade bikin kakak mete tidur malam bola balik sejak kakak lihat ade aduh Tuhan ampuni. you.